Hello everyone, it's been like about 4 months since I really last did Marvel Future Fight Shadowland Reset. The truth in that is that because of how I feel it's been a little repetitive and without any narration to go through when I do play through Shadowland, it's not been very fruitful for it, but now there has been some changes, especially with the game just having its 10th anniversary, and they gave a lot of rather free rewards. So now I do have a little bit of a stronger roster. I can also showcase some of the newer uniforms that I've purchased and some of the better progresses that I've already done when it comes to all these different heroes. Much so that this time around, this Shadowland reset, I will try and use as many heroes as I can because it's been a while, and let's see how far my heroes after the upgrade can actually take us. So between in floor 1, so just some things for you guys to take note is that in Shadowland, before I do actually start, as you would notice is that there are 5 different modes that you can actually battle in. Relay mode, fight against enemies who appear one at a time. Wave mode, fight against enemies who appear in waves. Boss mode, fight against bosses as soon as you enter. Rumble mode, fight against 3 other characters at once. And entry mode, fight against two teams of 3, one after the other. Entry mode will specifically much more appear in, as far as I remember at the top of my head, waves 15, 20, 25, 30, and I think 32. For basically relay mode, you basically controlling your chosen character against up to I think 3 enemies in one enemy team, and you'll be facing 2 out of 3 at one go. Wave mode, you'll always have different characters, whether be it 2 playable characters or 1 playable character with a ton of non-playable characters, which is the minions, and you basically fight in 3 different ways as a result. For boss mode, you're basically refighting the character that you select against out of the 3 different choices if you are granted a choice. Then you are going to face against that particular character as the boss and a ton of other minions who serve to keep you from completing your task of defeating the boss. Rumble mode, fight against 3 other characters at once. What happens in this is that you can choose up to 3 characters, and all 3 characters, should you choose all 3 of them, will be deployed against 3 other opponent characters in an instant, and there are 5 of enemy characters to go through, so it will be quite the challenge if you are deciding to bring in much weaker heroes or up against the opposing team where there's a lot of crowd controls. Note that all these teams are all predetermined, they are not player based teams where they can actually cause you to face some severe disadvantage because of level scaling and whatever else such as pay to win. For one, I have been mainly free to play in this game, so that is something for you to take note of. And lastly, as I have already mentioned, entry mode is much more of a sporadic type of wave level or stage, whichever you want to call them as, and you will see some of them rather interestingly. Anyways, with all that being said, wave 1, we have 3 different types of bosses. The combat, which is the red punches. The blue, which has a Iron Man repulsor ray icon, and the green color speed, which is the arrow type. So obviously, for those of you who have not played this game, the blue counters the red, the green counters the blue, and the blue counters the red. It goes in this triangle of what, as they call it, is the affinity based thing, as I taken it from another game. So these three types basically they counter each other. There is also a fourth type of character which is universal. Universal characters are actually purple and they signify the shape of an atom, as you will soon see in some of the characters that I will show you. But anyways, for the first stage itself, I can basically choose any of them. They are rather easy to go through, but with my own personal preference, I've always gone the field boss of Iron Man, Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, and Vision. So there are 4 different people here, and my lineup has kind of been strengthened with all the newer costumes, but usually when it comes to this first stage itself, I always look for Deadpool, in which I've also just recently got the Marvel Studios Deadpool Wolverine uniform. Yes, the movie may have come out quite a while ago, but I'm not rich. So, as this is really my first time doing Shadowland on this device, so this is what happens when you go through the dialogue. So essentially, the synopsis of Shadowland is that Matt Murdock, also known as Daredevil, has decided to rule upon Hell's Kitchen, which is where he really safeguards in the entire Marvel universe. And he's been going around with the criminal organization known as the Hand and taking down criminals, as the synopsis says. And basically, Daredevil is trying to be judge, jury, and executioner, which obviously is something that has a lot of issues, because when you play all 3 in a certain aspect, there will be a lot of emotions that's played at stake. But regardless, so basically we have Deadpool up against these 4 enemies. My goal obviously is to defeat every single one, and the newer uniforms always have some sort of advantage from newer through this type of stages issues. So let's say in the early stages, you can usually just have someone with a good, stronger uniform and take them all down. But of course, now you will have your first experience in Rumble mode with Shadowland Floor 2, in which there are some additional modifiers in Shadowland, in which, like for example, in the first one on the very left, it shows that enemy units that reflect energy damage appear in this stage. Energy damage characters are usually those who have the blue color symbol, the blast characters. So those are the ones that you really have to be careful of. Of course, there are some characters that are mixture in terms of energy and physical, so you need to be careful whenever you use heroes. But basically, when you're up against this blue one, which is what I'll be selecting, up against Warps, Songbird, Daisy Johnson, and Sister Grimm, all 4 blast enemies, you want to use someone that is combat based because they are much more known to be physical rather than energy based. Of course, let's not talk about someone like potentially Hulkbuster from what I know, but in this case we are going to be using Kingpin, which I do have the most recent uniform as well, so Kingpin will be able to really take these guys down without much issue. Of course, this lineup actually has a lot of control. As far as I'm not thrown off. And looks like I defeated here. But regardless, let's just actually go and upgrade the skills, and you will see the mass quick difference in it. As you notice, I did not upgrade the skills at all. So we're gonna go and do so. Then we're gonna have to retry this, and due to the fact that it's just massive amounts of crowd control, I usually want to just shift away for a little bit, but unfortunately Songbird target me. And of course really you want to use the green ones because the red ones are weaker to the blue ones, but it does not mean that you are unable to defeat any one of these. As you notice, the damage that I'm outputting is a lot different. And now we're only left with what to do with. So some of these stages, they are just rather done very easily. Of course, I chose a character that will take a much longer time because this is a counter type. But that's it. Kingpin actually gets us the clear the second time around. So stage 3, we are back to relay mode. We have universal type characters, female characters, and then male heroes. So of course, whenever you talk about the Marvel Universe, you have heroes, you have villains. That much I think most of y'all are aware. Now that's it. We are going to be doing the middle one, which we need to use a female character for the best advantage, as the male characters will have a damage decrease. Now then, for those of you who are a little bit much more interested, let me try and find it. There we go, we have Magic, which I did get the uniform when Marvel Rivals was released as the game. The game developers had added a costume and we are now able to use it. Definitely interesting for some of these uniforms. 10 seconds to clear this stage. But anyways, stage 4, we have wave mode. As I've specifically mentioned earlier, wave mode, 3 different bosses. So let's just quickly just choose someone random. In this case, I'll be using Cable. Whenever they talk about when take on the challenge and formidable team, you can really use anyone. There isn't any modifiers such as damage reduction for using the wrong types, or any other restrictions that can potentially be a little bit more complicated for anyone who is interested. Then lastly, we are up against 2 different visions, and clearing them rather quickly because Cable is a telekinetic person or mutant. Anyways, stage 5, Rumble mode. So you have a middle where it says universal type villains. Just for the fun of it, I will be doing this particular one, which let me just take a look at where is it, because I have zero clue based on the newer uniforms. I need a while. I'm pretty sure it is a tier 2. Oh goodness, it does take a while. Hold up, where is that character? Hang on, this is it wrong? I am definitely not having a fun day for looking at characters. Let me just take a look, where is it, because I might be able to find it with this entire list. And I'm still having some issues. Okay, there we go. We were actually looking at Ultron, but for some reason I can't seem to find Ultron anywhere. So please bear with me a little. And I see, that's the reason why. For some reason I had the Avengers Age of Ultron skin equipped, which is actually a bad skin. But that's it. I've now fixed that up, and we are going to be using Ultron against different Ultrons. For stage 5, the Infinity Ultron as dictated in Marvel Studios' What If. And the stage itself, rather to be tier 3. All Ultrons has been decimated and recruited into the system. Now let's move on to stage 6. So just some things to really talk about is that I won't really be doing this series monthly anymore, because sometimes it takes quite a while for this type of content to really be recorded fully and everything else. And Shadowland, to be honest, is a fun way to obtain free resources, but it's also very repetitive. Yes, I'm aware elements like autoplay and all the progress exist, but these type of stages are more fun to play them yourself. Now that's it. For those of you who might be asking, I do not actually own Phoenix, which means that I did not really clear through the epic quest at all. But now we move on to the next one, floor 7. Rumble mode, heroes and advantage in this stage. We are going to be using Hawkeye in the Magnus skin. So doing a mix of this, the enemy team is actually comprised of new Avengers. And Squirrel, please do not annoy you. I know you are definitely an untouchable one. Anyways, stage 8, relay mode. Let's just take a look at the universal type characters. So we are going to be using, let's see here. I have not unlocked the Hela what if skin just yet, so I will shy you from doing it. Icarus I think is a little bit weak as well, so I will be using Iron Hammer for a quick clear. So some things that have changed since my playthrough of the earlier Shadowland series is that as part of the treasure gifts that the game has, I did actually obtain my first ever tier 4 character to us for free. And I actually selected Iron Man to be with it because I couldn't actually select the one that I wanted, as far as I'm aware of. So anyways, wave 9, you can only use villains in this stage. So I think villain themselves, it's rather straightforward to work with. I'm going to be using Malekith. So wave mode, you notice one character over here, and you see that there are a ton of minions all popping in. So all these will just be basic fodder to actually work against. So second wave, we have Crossbones, and I believe that is Sin. And I just obviously this very massively. So no minions in the second wave. And in this third wave we are dealing with the Captain America who has been serving Hydra, as some parts of y'all might actually regularly notice due to the Hydra minions constantly popping in. Now all that is said and done, it took me 46 seconds to clear this wave. Anyways, stage 10, rumble mode. So we are going to be taking a beating to the different spiders, as we have Spider-Man Miles Morales, Silk, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man, and Superior Spider-Man, which is actually Dr. Octopus. Now that's it. I do not remember if the Superior Spider-Man is a strong skin. And no, it is not. It is rather a weak skin, unfortunately. So I will not be using Dr. Octopus. I will, however, be using, let's see here, Mr. Fantastic. And the only main thing about these spiders is that they can run through where you are, especially if you're gonna go one of the one just like that, but really able to activate the seal, just cause them to be paralyzed, the end additional moves, and we're just going to take down the remaining spiders in order to back to Fortress. 26 seconds for this clear, stage 11. So there are also modifiers like these where the elemental attacks won't actually work. As far as I'm concerned of, I do know that there is at least lightning element, flame element, poison element. I'm not sure if there are any others because I don't really use the heroes with really the elemental type of attacks and everything else. But we're gonna go against the flame element enemy, so that means the human torch is basically worthless here. We are actually going to be using Falcon in the zombie skin. And when Falcon becomes a savage, you know something has gone terribly wrong. That's it. Stage 12. It's a first boss mode. Usually, in order to do it fast, and obviously now you've seen that with Lady Loki as a boss in boss 12, the ice element attacks are also another type of elemental attack that actually does exist in the game. And for this stage itself, I will be using Havoc. Notice the ice golem enemies from Donheim are present with constant stop. All these minions will constantly spawn in, regardless of how long you take to defeat the boss or failing to do so. So there is never a stop to the minions, so just focus on the boss and you are good to go. Floor 13. You have speed type enemies in the very left having an advantage, speed type characters, having an advantage on the very left. The right having only a She-Hulk and Jessica Jones, but however they reflect physical attack. Which means in logic common sense, you should be using an energy type. I will be using Cyclops in this one, as Cyclops in the later stages does tend to fall off. But really, when it comes to Cyclops, it's really cheesy because the armor break on his fifth ability right here, and he's basically taking a spam. Just to catch the characters that you need, he can basically just infinitely blast them. And it constantly gut breaks the enemy, so they cannot actually take any action as they flinch almost every single time. Stage 14, Rumble mode. We're going to be using a blast type character in this stage. We are going to be using Rocket Raccoon. That was successful, and eliminating Red Hulk, we will actually clear stage 14. Now, stage 15 is our first encounter with the entry mode. As you notice, they say that heroes have an advantage in this stage. I'm going to be using Heimdall. Even though you see there are two different teams that we can up to have, so we should by right have two characters, you can actually play through these stages with only one. So if you select a strong character, you can easily clear some of these stages without much of an issue. Bucket has to appear and get annihilated by 9 rings. Or I think I probably turn the Bifrost but still. And in 10 seconds, combined, Heimdall gets us the victory in floor 15. So floor 16, we are gonna skip past the villain having an advantageous one, going right to the trio of Thor, Jane Foster, and Groot in his Thor skin. As we're gonna be going to clear lightning elemental attacks will not work. I believe this Black Bolt skin is actually a credit cost skin, so I will not be going for this as well. So instead, we're gonna be going with Spider-Man 2099 or Yellow Power. So obviously, for those of you who aren't aware, this is the Across the Spider skin for Spider-Man 2099. And this is where I really branched out as starting for the entire of my YouTube career, in a sense, when I create content and stream with the name of GrandRx first. But that's it. Floor 17 is a boss mode. So floor 17 is, or rather, not floor 17 itself, but some of these bosses are much more unique, as not all bosses have a minion constantly raining down to eliminate you or prevent you from defeating the boss. We are going to be using Kingo, and the battle tip actually suggests that we should be breaking the jar that constantly appears on the map, and if we do not do so, or if the enemy dodges the jar break, yeah, it doesn't increase. However, Kingo eliminates Rocket Raccoon within 5 seconds to quickly clear through the stage. Now, stage 18, we have heroes, villains, and universal type villains. I'm skipping past the villain part. We're going to be using Shuri in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever uniform, and once again, Songbird is irritating at this part, so our priorities focus on Songbird, and the rest will fall like flies. So, most of the later uniforms, at least they have a method of recovering life. Unless we are talking about characters like even natural healing factor, like Deadpool, Wolverine, and I think even Daken has it, I'm not too certain of it. But regardless, speaking of villains, I'm actually gonna take the fight to the trios again. We're gonna be using Daken, because instead of having minions constantly going down and eating some time, we can defeat the thing just by clearing out the two characters involved in that particular wave. Yep, Daken does have a healing factor, so whenever you talk about heroes without healing base skill, if they have a healing factor, I don't see the issue entirely. The two Iron Mans go down, we are gonna deal with Ultron. So of course having a ton of Ultron that is a lot more complicated, but they can shreds past these two Ultrons. And in comes Vision, to take the fight. And Daken will... oh. Vision tries to avoid that move, and I am getting stunned. And the final Vision will finally fall in 56 seconds combined. Now, wave 20 is another entry mode, however, you can choose from 3 different choices. So, first one, you have the Avengers, as in floor 15. In the middle one, you have the... I forgot the overall name of it, but they are basically the Asgardian Warriors, and the right you have the X-Men. So we are going to be doing the middle one. They basically say that an enemy that removes debuff will appear. I'm not too concerned about when enemies are able to remove debuffs, and it does take quite a loading while. However, we will get through with it, and we are going to go through floor 20. Someone actually has deflect available, and that took my health down by quite a chunk. Unfortunate, but we will get through this, and we will kill level up before we get beaten down by the second half of Odin, Thor, and Loki. Loki is getting pummeled by the over here, as that will be a clear in floor 20. In floor 21, relay mode, once again we will be using a energy based character. We're gonna be using Cersei to quickly clear some of these later waves where now they have increased health and increased damage. So both She-Hulk and Jessica Jones fall within 3 seconds as detected by the in-game timer. Now, floor 22 boss mode, Bell tips is that play by inlinear clones that appear. This is entirely, I have no idea what they're talking about, because you do not have to do so, as you can directly target Iron Fist instantly. As for those of you who cannot recognize this, it is Iron Fist in another skin. So as you notice, the clones are basically just there. I just assume that the clones will just make them act as an extra enemy, but you won't really have clones, as defeating Iron Fist will just easily get you the victory. Alright, I see that someone is actually a random person playing this game made use of the 10k crystals that the game has given out for the 10-year login to purchase a deluxe pack, obtaining a 6-star Magneto. But that said, that is actually a very interesting play. However, we can scrape past those little details. We will go right into floor 23. Floor 23, heroes have an advantage. We're going to be using Domino and a combination of Lunar Snow. Because I'm not too certain that this particular Lunar Snow can actually survive past all these characters themselves, I'll be using a combination, and it seems that Lunar Snow is able to heal, so maybe I could have been wrong, but Songbird once again stealing away, so that was the main complication to work against. But this lady locked on her skin will shred past Squirrel, Songbird, White Tiger, Hawkling, and now Weekend for the victory. In 31 seconds combined, that is floor 23. Now in floor 24, we have the return of Rocket Raccoon with the jaw breaking. We have the symbiotes who are weak to fire damage, so we will be using Molten Man, not Human Torch just yet, as Human Torch can be also be cheesable. But that's it. Molten Man is also all about flames. And that is not quite right, as they are stunning the life of me. But that's it. We now find ourselves taking control very quickly as we explode out from underneath with lava. Now, floor 25, entry mode, we are going to be dealing with only X-Men, and now, notice that the enemies have actually have advanced to tier 2. So what this means is that they're going to be a lot harder to work around. We are going to be using Sentry, as for some characters when they have different uniforms, they might switch from heroes to villains, or vice versa. So we're gonna really clear this one up. And that is game over for the first wave. I did spend quite a hefty amount of diamonds to get the new Sentry skin, because for natural tier 2 and natural tier 3 characters, their uniform costs are different. So floor 26, we have boss mode. They just say that using a combat character, so this is what we will be doing. So now we're gonna be using 6th version of the Bifrost, and we will be damaging Hawkeye to elimination actually, as that will be a 7-second clear, obtaining a Daredevil's chest. So now level 27 is an entry mode, so this is another stage with entry mode. There's a chance that an enemy that activates energy damage immunity, so this just means that you should be using someone who does physical damage. So even if they have activated the energy damage immunity, you still can damage them as you are dealing physical damage. So Daredevil with the new skin in the series, I believe that is actually a counter hit. The Dark Dimensions of Satana, I forgot the other guy's name, and Dormammu gets eliminated. Now we move on to the hero variation of Doctor Strange, Ancient One, and Queen. Daredevil gets us the win in floor 27. In floor 28, I'll be doing the Hulk combination as they want someone who is Blast character based. We'll be using Captain America or Sharon Rogers. And we just shred past the entire Hulk family in 3 seconds. Now, floor 29. Another entry mode, we are going to be dealing with Thanos and the Black Order. In first wave, we have Black Dwarf, Proxima Midnight, and Corvus Glaive. Second wave, Thanos, Supergiant, and Ebony Maw. So we're going to do this with Jane Foster, a Universal character, so they're weak. So for those of you, a little bit of information, Universal will do normal damage to Universal characters, as well as having an advantage over all 3 different types, which I perhaps did not mention at the very beginning. So each of these characters will take only damage as indicated by white text rather than yellow text, which shows an advantage in damage. There will never be an instant in which damage is shown with a darker grey colored text. So level 30, entry mode, we have 3 different options here. We're gonna be going with another universal type, as we are gonna go with Vision in this stage. So they are basically lightning immune and flame immune. Fortunately, vision wise is not any of these 3 damages. Now that's it, it does take a little bit longer for Vision to actually get over them, but we will still do so before the timer of 1 minute hits, as that is the time limit for entry mode stages. And that is Obliteration. So now moving on to floor 31, we have Rumble mode. Blast type characters have advantage, speed, and combat characters. We are going to be using the combat character Captain America to clear this stage. So I believe we are up against Wave, through the Snow, Arrow, who is in reserve right now, who just appeared, and the one that is at the very top, that should be Baron model, as far as I'm concerned. But all 4 of them will fall to the Captain, as we want to Wave 32, or floor 32. Also, that chest right here saying that whoever you are just acquired 6-star Storm from Premium Hero Chest. I do believe that there are some cases where you can just select X-Men as normal characters, but that's it. So floor 32, this is the one where they really incorporated the tougher challenges, because they are requiring characters with the unique Spider Sense ability, and as we all know, Spider senses will include Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen. I'm not sure if Venom has it, that is something I do have to check, which I will do so for you. So, ability, we can go over here in Spider Sense. So, we have the following: Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man 2099, Dr. Octopus, I think only in the Superior Spider-Man skin, as far as I'm concerned of, Scarlet Spider, you have Silk, Spider-Woman, and Arc-Knight, which is actually a combination of Moon Knight and Spider-Man. That is, I believe, only unique in this game. However, not to worry too much about that, we'll be using Miles Morales to clear floor 32. Now, Miles Morales does have an extra thing where he does more damage to villains, so he does actually shred past the enemy very quickly. As soon as one use of skill 4, in 2 seconds that wave has been settled. But now wave 33, we have heroes with unique flamedies with advantage in this match up against Iceman. Enchantress, we need villains with unique machine or mind resistance abilities. So just to show you this one, because that's also something new. So we have mind resist. We have this following characters: Ronan, Magic. Oh, I can actually save Magic next time, but I think Magic unfortunately is considered as a hero, not a villain. So we can actually do this. No, I can't actually show you which is a villain or anything else. And that's it. There are also some other characters like Ebony Maw, which I've never upgraded, Supergiant, Maximus, the Leader, Emma Frost, Cassandra Nova, Madeline Pyre, Magneto, Professor X, and Jean Grey. All these are mind resistant. So for those of you who wants to take a look of it, we are going to remove mind resist and we're gonna go look for machine. So machine, we have actually a lot of different characters to work around with. We have Iron Man, we have War Machine, we have Vision, Hulkbuster, Iron Hammer, Ultron. Again, we have Dr. Octopus from earlier talking about the spider senses. We have Nebula, we have Cable, Rescue, MODOK, Whiplash. I nearly said Killmonger, that's the wrong hero. Yellow Jacket. This is Ghost. That's Destroyer over here. We have Ironheart over here, Deathlock, and Sentinel. So any of these really would tip the scale in our favor, but because of how they are also specifying villains, you really only have a few in mind resistance to work it out. So heroes with unique flame abilities, we are going to finally employ the use of Human Torch to eliminate Iceman, Fire versus Ice. Let's sit around. Notice the amount of damage that I'll be doing to Iceman is very little. So we can actually just keep hurting Iceman just like that. So this is where I get to talk a little bit more. So there will become a point in time where I will not be able to clear all the remaining Shadowland stages. It's basically infinite after floor 35 for you to challenge your limits to speak of. And that all being said and done, it's just really how far you can go and how far you can live. King of the Hill, really, I mentioned it in my earlier playthrough, all just about pay to win. You will pay to win, you basically will not stand a chance against the top players, because they all have tier 4 characters and everything else, so I wouldn't recommend trying that at all. So now we're gonna finish off Iceman which actually took 1 minute and 10 seconds exactly. Now, floor 34 is the one that is actually much more complicated, as I do not have anyone with the Phoenix Force ability unlocked, and every single time to barely clear this stage, we have to use 4. Due to the damage in blue, however, yes, notice, I'm able to raise past the amount of thick health bars that the characters in this stage have. And now we're going to use the tier 3 move, and that would take them down quite a little bit of health. I think the damage wise for my floor has kind of increased ever since upgrading some things. But anyways, this is really what you have when it comes to clearing this stage. So instead of using the combination instantly, I always wait for the 4-5 tier 3 combo to do the most damage, and skill 4 and skill 5 combined will cause lightning resist to go down, which means they will somehow take more damage when used by a damage map. And you can see that Thanos is trying to backstab us behind, but first we shall get rid of Silver Surfer, now leaving us with only 1 minute and 40 seconds to work with, please use Thanos. But all that said and done, I am still able to run through the amount of damage that Thanos is able to resist, healing back up to 100% life, and skill 4 allows us to heal every single time we use it, and we are going to be healing up the life of Thanos. So obviously you notice the blue color damage and the white color damage. The blue color damage actually does way more as compared to the white color ones. Do you guys think that the white one does more damage? Because you want to see the numbers stacked together. So this stage has always, without fail, taken me very long to clear this, and hopefully one day I will actually get Jean Grey, and that will allow me to clear up this stage a little bit quicker, as I feel Jean Grey will be the easiest to work around for Phoenix Force. As to quickly show you before we go into floor 35, Phoenix Force we only have a few characters. Kate Omega, I can't actually show anyone else, but we have Hope Summers, Echo, Rachel Summers, and of course Jean Grey, the original Phoenix herself. Now, floor 35, boss mode, we only have Daredevil to work with. And to really wrap things up, we are going to be using Moon Knight, as they are basically vigilantes. So essentially now, making all the way up to floor 35, you encounter Daredevil, and Iron Fist essentially understands that he has been possessed, which is why he's been undertaking all this judge, jury, and executioner mindset. But that said, Moon Knight will be taking out Daredevil to subdue him. And this is going to be a quick beatdown, as this Moon Knight has been upgraded to quite a fair amount. And that is Daredevil eliminated. And now we see Shadowland chests. Regardless, now we basically defeated him, and there we go. The game will congratulate you for clearing floor 35, and King of the Hill can now be entered after floor 36. A stage from floor 1 to floor 35. Every single fight that you have even an option with can be randomly selected. You have no control over this, but you can refresh the stage. So floor 36, you just need to have blast type characters. We're gonna bring in Hydro Man in this, as from 4th to 6th onwards, they'll just have extra health, extra damage, and everything. They just are enhanced. Of course, the amount of damage that I deal with these characters will be a little lower, as they are not as upgraded as the others. So Hydro Man essentially only making out of water, and we are going to evolve our water dragon bats to help us out. And we are going to go into water tornado once again. Now Captain America and Hulkbuster will be drowning Hydro Man's powers essentially, and that's all really we have this thing. And unfortunately, it seems that Winter Soldier has just been eliminated instead of helping Captain America out at the point. So, something new once you reach floor 36 onwards is that there are these things known as Shadowland tokens, and for each surviving character, you will actually gain 10 Shadowland tokens. Now, what do Shadowland tokens do? I'll head over to the shop and you will see that you can actually have a selection of a CTP, which is one of the strongest items in the game, but however, dimension chests are completely randomly number generated. For Shadowland chests, you can actually see through this thing. You can get up to a CTP, gold, hidden tickets, uniform upgrade kits, up to a 6-star custom gear that is not CTP, up to a extreme boost ISO 8, and up to 6-star combat cards as well, and all the way up to a fully awakened ISO 8 from 6-star all the way to the various red stars, 5-star Uru, and as well as 6-star enchanted Urus. However, for your Urus, if you're not having Odin's Blessing, just don't bother with them. Alright, so heroes with an advantage. We are still having quite a number of heroes remaining, so this is going to still take a little while. So just to quickly just take a look at this, we have already hit a 50-minute mark when it comes to clearing this thing. So this will still go on a little bit longer than what you guys might expect for a simple Shadowland playthrough. Now, level 38, we have villains. So villains wise, we have Thanos to work with. Yes, I have still not used the Mad Titan himself. So the Mad Titan will basically wreck through all these enemies. And as you see, there is Super Giant appearing from skill 3, Proxima Midnight appearing from skill 5. And from skill 4 is just himself, I believe. Skill 1, he's entering a portal. Skill 3, you have a chance of getting Super Giant or Ebony Maw. But down goes MODOK with laser pulverization for the clearance of stage 38. Right, stage 39. Combat type characters. Very quickly, we will just use Wolverine. Just with a simple skill 5, Wolverine takes down 4 heroes in 5 seconds. Now, stage 40, enemies that reflect... Let's try that again. Enemies that reflect physical attacks will appear in this stage. And we are going to be using Star-Lord, as Star-Lord does deal energy damage. Oh goodness. Excuse me, people. And that is the tune, and both Jessica Jones and She-Hulk go down stage 40 in 6 seconds. Right, Law 41. Combat type characters have an advantage. They reflect energy and they reflect physical. So in this case, we will be using Hulk with his Titan skin. instead of the Fear itself skin, which has been part of my lineup for quite a while. Now we have this skin, who seems to be a lot more scary, as all 4 speed characters get eliminated in 6 seconds. Now, floor 42, entry mode. Basically, any heroes, we're gonna be using Gamora. Now, Gamora has a Awakened Potential skill from, I think, the Requiem update, which I'm not sure which version it is. But now, we are basically going to cut through these. I have no idea why Hawkeye was unaffected, but down goes Hawkeye as well. To get us to the second wave. Now, we will be clear. So for entry mode stages, you can have up to 6 characters, of course. So I do usually suggest, if you want to earn some free Shadowland tokens, get the entry mode ones, have 1 strong character in the first wave, then followed by the stronger ones in the, I mean not the stronger ones, but the weaker ones that you probably cannot do anything with, fill them all 3 slots, so you get 40 coins instead of 10. Although now Black Widow will be clearing floor 43. Despite the fact that this particular Black Widow can web, you are not considered as a spider even though you are Black Widow, but you are a spider. So which is why she cannot be used in the earlier floor of floor 32. Now moving on to floor 44, we actually still are not at the area where we can earn new things yet. So, floor 44, female characters have an advantage. I do believe I am running out of female characters, except for 1, so we will refresh the stage. We will have to take 30,000 however. But anyways, blast type characters have an advantage. We can use War Machine. And this War Machine is not the weak War Machine that I got annoyed at the last few times I did Shadowland. Oops, I just got instantly destroyed. What just happened? Was that a physical attack? Let me just take a look at that. Oh, War Machine actually is a blast that does physical damage, so he is a no-go, unfortunately. We don't really have any other blast as well to work with, so unfortunately we need to refresh again, taking now much more gold. So enemies here just reflect physical attack, so we just need someone who does energy damage. We have to be forced to use Loki. So Time Trickster is back. Loki and Sylvie work together to bring down Kingpin. And now moving on to floor 45. We are just talking about an entry mode. So now we can use War Machine. And I will be using... Oh, I think these normal 6-star characters are prevented from doing this when it comes to all these things. So we'll be using the weaker ones. And we're gonna shift them down to second team. So tier 2 characters can only do stage 36 onwards. That's also very interesting. But that's it. Nothing to stop us from really. So now Captain America and Hawkeye are the first to go down. And Iron Man decides to come out and fight again. Getting himself absolutely beaten up. So now we have a complete tier 3 skill waiting for us. We will be using it to damage the female Avengers. Or at least the female counterparts, and then Ironheart, Carol Rogers, and Kate Bishop. Ironheart is the first one to go down, followed by Sharon Rogers and Kate Bishop. And there you go, as you see we just earned 40 of those Shadowland coins, stage 46. We are going to be fighting Daredevil again. We're going to be using Drax very easily. Don't need to worry too much. Daredevil at this stage is still the same health and everything, so we're going to be just rushing through this. We're going to space out our skills just a little bit, so that we can constantly do a chain of special or skill abilities, because Drax apparently has quite a lengthy cooldown on his abilities. And basically we are actually bullying Daredevil in his own beast-occupied performance. Now we're gonna use the weapon skill again, and that would cause Daredevil to be eliminated a second time in this playthrough. Now stage 47. We have actually cleared one time of stage 47 before, so I will not worry too much about that. I do not want Luke Cage, as he'll not be able to do anything. I have to quickly check that unfortunately Hookbuster does physical damage. I think I can use Shang-Chi, however, because even though Shang-Chi does physical, we do have all damage immune, I believe. So I just need to find the right one. Yeah, there we go. So we can use Shang-Chi to deal with this. I do believe skill 5 does not have any immunity, so we need to be a little bit careful. So we need to kind of space out the move a little bit. And I keep forgetting that you should not be using his move at all. And now the Shadow Minions come in. So if you have ignore targeting, it does help a little. But invincible, ignore targeting are your two only methods of ignoring the reflect damage mechanism, as far as I'm aware of. Obviously, invincible having a much more safer bet. Now we are moving on to floor 48. We are required to use a blast character, and guess what? We are going to be using our tier 4 character in Iron Man. This Iron Man has been massively upgraded until beyond normal capabilities. So let him shred past this wave for us. And that is floor 48 conquered in 7 seconds. We do still have about 3 million gold to work around should we get a bad floor. So floor 49, we are up against Rocket Raccoon. So for those of you who do actually look at this a little bit more, we have to cut off at Hulkbuster. So as in, like, we only have basically 5 more to work with, so we can go up to floor 54 to recruit. Now starting off with the Awakened Potential skill, we have already dealt about 40% damage to Rocket Raccoon, and a combination of skill 5 and skill 4 will eliminate Rocket Raccoon to move on to floor 50. So floor 50, we are talking about non-mutant characters. That is not much of an issue. And I think I did some math calculation errors. I think it should be floor 53 as our last floor. But that's it. We will end Swarm Scarlet Witch with... whoops. Correct. Willow Ant-Man, and we are going to eliminate Scarlet Witch in this floor with Ant-Man, turning the tides of size against Scarlet Witch. Floor 51. Universal type villains, we do not have any of those, so we need to switch over to Heroes of Advantage in floor 51. We are going to be using Venom, which is considered as a superhero in King is Black uniform, so we don't worry about the damage penalty if we use a villain. Removing just 3 new Avengers in a split second. And that's a top one to weaken, and slicing Squirrel to elimination. Floor 52. Once again, we need to refresh this, and we will gladly take another Rocket Raccoon to the depths as we pick up Spider-Man to deal with this. Unfortunately, Rocket Raccoon did actually dodge the Jar Destruction, but we do have the instance of being able to ignore the dodging. So we will still damage him despite his dodge rate increase. And now floor 53. Combat type characters have an advantage in this stage. I am going to ignore that entirely. We are going to finish off smoothly. And we're gonna bring in Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes and Beta Ray Bill. 2 universal characters. And we're gonna use Rudo Spider-Gwen to end things off. I think this will just take a while, but I do not have issues dealing with this thing. It will definitely take a while, so you do notice that in this stage itself there are a couple of lasers. Just be careful to dodge lasers if you don't have any damage immediately, because they can shred you in a second if you are extremely not careful. So I will not be using these bonuses yet with my skill 5 and skill 4 to be off cooldown, as I want the crit, and I just did the wrong button again, using skill 5 instead of skill 6 or the awaken skill. So now we can use the awaken skill, having ignore targeting, and all the other moves are now increased critical rate. And this will simply continue. Skill 3 and skill 4 gives us targeting immunity. Skill 4 gives us invincible. We need to rephrase that just by a little bit. Alright, our awaken skill is about to go off cooldown. Oops. And we are going to eliminate Hawkeye. And there we go. That took a very long time, as there is some damage penalties for using a speed character. But that is all I can really do, as all the other characters are far too weak to do Shadowland. So that's all. I'm not too sure when I would really be doing Shadowland again, but I do hope to mix up some of the character order that I use. And until then, have a good one.